Howdy, this is Mackenzie Franklin from SideGame LLC here in Colorado Springs, Colorado. We're going to be doing our 2021 retrospective, the top 10 board games from 2021. I love these lists because I'm able to go back and look at some of my favorite games from last year and talk about how they've improved or maybe went down in ratings, as well as talk about games that I potentially missed from my best of 2021 list. I'm curious what you think about these games and what are your favorites from 2021, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please make sure that you do. It is the best way to help us grow. And for those of you already subscribed, thank you so much for the continuous support. Let's talk about the best games from 2021, 1 year later. Starting off with number 10 is Zombicide 2nd Edition. This is a streamlined new edition of Zombicide where you are playing as survivors taking down a zombie horde. You're going to be searching for items and using those items to take out as many zombies as possible for a specific mission. I love this version of Zombicide because of how streamlined it is. I feel like I'm always playing this game. When it's the enemy's turn and you're ready to spawn out zombies, there's only a single zombie type on each card, so it's easy to just pull out what you need, put it on the board, and it's like you're just playing all the time. I love that sensation of feeling that I'm always engaged and just consistently taking down hordes of zombies. In addition, there are some great expansions with Zombicide, with Washington ZC and Fort Hendricks that have brought out the all-out mechanism. And all-out is a mechanism where you can push your luck and roll additional dice when you use your weapons, but they could potentially break if you do so. This puts a lot of tension into your actions and leads to cinematic moments. You're still going to get those successes, but you could potentially lose your weapon. You'll have to take some time to go find a new one, and maybe you just don't have a weapon and somebody needs to come rescue you. I love the pressure that it puts. And a lot of the new expansion characters are also going to implement the all-out mechanism into their effects, so you actually need to use all-out if you want to use your bonus additional powers. I love this system, that incorporation of push your luck elements into the expansions, and I cannot recommend them enough if you enjoy Zombicide or these cooperative games where you are building up your equipment and consistently leveling up. So that is my number 10, Washington ZC and Fort Hendricks, as well as just Zombicide 2nd Edition in general, my number 10. My number 9 is going to Mind Management. This is a hidden movement game where you are either going to be playing as a rogue agent who's trying to find the recruiter. And the recruiter is the hidden character. The recruiter has their own little mini map in the back here, and they're going to be moving there every turn, but also controlling these immortals that are going to be on the main board, trying to grab additional information, additional recruits. As the rogue agents, you need to figure out what that recruiter player is going after and make sure that you can stop them before the time runs out and they're able to recruit as many agents as they need. One of my favorite parts about this game is the fact that there are objectives for both players, and a lot of these games, the hidden player is just running, trying to hide, but they actually have something that they are trying to complete as well. But a cool twist on this is this closer that side is getting to completing their full objectives, getting to the end of the game, the more information they actually trickle out for the other player. And when they send their immortals on the board, they're trying to find these matching symbols, and when they do, they'll discard one of the potential cards from the board in this upper right here, and that will show that, hey, that's not one of the symbols that your main recruiter character that's hidden is actually going after. So the more information that they're getting and the more progress they're making, the more information you as a rogue agent trying to find are also getting. In addition, if you find that the game tends to swing towards one side, there's this great implementation of a shift system where there are these little packages that will add mini expansions to the game. You can use them just for mini expansions, maybe each player grabs one and adds it to their game, or you can use it as a balancing factor, unlocking it after each game and bolstering the abilities and powers of the losing player. I love this system. The artwork is amazing. I like the entire presentation of it, and it's a joy to play. You're constantly back and forth. My favorite way to play this is 2 players. I think that with a lot of players, you get a lot of downtime on the hidden side because as the players are cooperating, they're figuring out what they want to do, and that's not as exciting to me. And then the solo mode is a little bit too app heavy for my liking, but the 2-player game of this is amazing. One of my favorite 2-player games. I think it is one of my favorite. Oh man, this 2021 is a great year, so don't take this lightly. But this, I think, is actually my favorite hidden movement game and one of my favorite games to come out in 2021. So that is my number 9, Mind Management. My number 8 is going to King Domino Origins. This is a very light game where you are going to be playing as a settlement of cavemen trying to build up your dominion, your kingdom, king domino. So you're going to be doing this with dominoes. So you have these dominoes that are out on the board, and every round you're going to be laying them out based on their power level. You'll have power level here. The lower the number, the weaker the tile is. And then based on the order of which you took your dominoes last time, you're going to choose the domino to take for the next round. So for example, if you took the weakest domino in that last round, you'll get to pick first on the next round. I love this choice between, do I take something incredibly powerful now, or do I increase my options later? It's a very similar situation to games like Ganshan Clever, where you're always having to juggle the choice of options versus power. I love this system, and I think it works great in here with the tile drafting system, and you've seen a lot of other games adopt this system. Now, one thing that makes King Domino Origins special is the new modules that are attached to the game that really open it up. Starting off with the most simple of the modules, the volcanoes. You have these volcano tiles that are going to go into your kingdom that when they're in your kingdom, they actually do not help at all. They're going to reduce the amount of scoring area that you can get. King Domino, if you're unfamiliar with, the way that you score your tiles is the grouping of tiles, whatever the color is, if they're in one big connected group, so you got like 6 greens here, times the number of crowns in the original, or in this case, flames. So this character here has 7 flames times 6. That's insane. So you have so much scoring potential here, and the volcanoes allow you to, you're losing one potential area that can be scored, but you get to shoot out these volcano flame pieces from the volcanoes wherever you put them. And that means that you can consolidate these scoring potentials into areas where normally you wouldn't be able to. But that's not it. This expansion also, this main game, this new standalone game, adds even more modularity with new additional modules. And this is, I haven't actually played them all. I haven't played the last one, but the second one here is awesome. You have these little resource tokens that are going to be on the board. And if you have the most of those at the end of the game, you get additional scoring, but you can potentially burn them, because if you use the fire and put it on a place with the resource, it burns the resource, so you lose that for the end game scoring. So you have another choice between, do I want to make sure that I'm increasing my multiplier, but I may lose that end game bonus, and you have to weigh your options as to what's really important. And there are some tiles that actually have resources and some that don't. As you can see, the desert has no resources. It's an excellent layer for such a solid system. This is my favorite way to play King Domino, as you can just play that original game with that small twist of the volcanoes, but you can consistently add more and more challenging situations and scenarios. So King Domino Origins is the best version of King Domino, in my opinion. I love this one. That is my number 8. My number 7 is going to Railroad Inc. Challenge, another sequel or standalone game for Railroad Inc. And this one here is particularly challenge. And what makes it a challenge? That has to do with the challenge cards. I'll get to that in a second, but Railroad Inc. is a game where you'll be rolling dice and using those dice to build routes onto this board. You're trying to connect all of your exits while limiting the amount of paths you have that lead to nowhere. So you'll lose points for having paths that lead to nowhere. See a little X there. It doesn't go anywhere, so you're going to lose points for it. In addition, you have a variety of expansion modules that are included in these core games, plus you can buy extra expansion packs that add additional dice that you'll be playing with, and that'll give you a new way to score. For example, in green, you're going to get these little trees that will add a new forest scoring for you. So each different set that you buy is going to have a variety of new content for you, but one thing that makes this one stand out as opposed to the original are the challenge cards. These are going to be goal cards that have something simple that you must do. For example, have 5 of the center spaces marked, have 3 of the corners marked. But what this actually means is when you are making your board, you're going to be making some crazy plays to try to rush for those objectives. And by doing so, you're going to put yourself in a position that's going to be kind of hard to dig out of, and that's the fun in it for me. I love pushing myself to try to complete these crazy scoring objectives, and that satisfying feeling when you're able to make it all work at the end. And some of these scoring conditions are even tied to the specific expansions, which make for even more interesting, varied gameplay. I love the way that you can mix and match the different scoring objectives with the expansions, and even if you just have the core stuff, it will work no matter what expansion you're playing with, or if you're just playing that original, it's still going to give you that satisfying feeling. Love this as a solo, as a multiplayer game. It's a roll and write, so as many people as you have sheets can play it. It works perfectly on planes. This is one of my go-to plane ride games. This is my wife's favorite travel game, period. That's Railroad Inc. Challenge, my number 7. My number 6 goes to Assassin's Creed Brotherhood of Venice, one of my favorite campaign games. This has you playing in the Assassin's Creed world as an assassin in Venice. Go figure. You're going to be going from mission to mission, playing a stealth game. You're trying to complete an objective while making sure that you don't get caught or taken out. Your progress goes from mission to mission, so know, whatever you end with, that's what you're taking in to the next scenario. So you're trying to do the best you can every single time. One of my favorite things about this game has to do with the item system. You're going to be constantly gaining items by looting these bodies that you've taken out, and you're going to use those items as often as you can. This game presses you to use what you have, and I love that. You're constantly getting items, so it feels great to spend them so that you're being as efficient as possible. In addition, every time you play a scenario, you're going to be unlocking new cards usually, and some of those are items that will get shuffled in the deck, and it just bolsters your choices and options for the future. I love this system. I think that the level up progression is a lot of fun, and the expansions have been so cool. There's another one that digs deeper into the European area, and there's also one that's set in the future where you have more futuristic stuff, but that same core stealth system. Another great thing about this game is you get to decide when you want to break that stealth pattern, and there are even ways that you can go back into stealth, so you can sort of cheat the system and make it so that you have these crazy moments, take a quick rest, and then have another crazy moment, and that increases the frequency that you're going to be caught, and so now you're deciding, okay, it's full combat mode, let's go. Love the story. The porting over from the video game makes sense here, and I think they did a great job on the board game. So there's a version that you can get now that does not have miniatures. It has standees. It is more affordable, and it is available. So give this one a try if you like the theming. That's Assassin's Creed Brotherhood of Venice, my number 6. My number 5 goes to Ark Nova. This is a strategy game where you're going to be playing as a zookeeper trying to build the greatest zoo. You're going to do this through the use of cards, as well as this clever action system where you're trying to play out these different cards into your own personal zoo board. And my favorite part about this game has to be your personal area. You'll have this action system on the bottom of your board here that is a river, and this is a mechanism that I enjoy in a lot of games that use this, where you activate a tile, slide it down, put it to the end of the row, and if you wait long enough, that tile will become more efficient as it slides. So if you're able to combo these different tiles, then you're going to get them at stronger levels. For example, if you use this, oh man, I forgot exactly what it is. Let's go to the right. This little shovel action is the build action. It would be strength 5, but then it slides down, moves to the end, and if you wanted to do it again in a row, it would only be strength 1 because it's going to slide all the way to the end. So you want to combo your actions, get them to the far right, so you're being as efficient and powerful as possible. In addition, you have your own little player board that's going to be different each game, that has special abilities and bonuses for placing things, and you'll have a variety of these different animal cards that are going to give you bonuses and push you down strategies. And this is a highly tactical game where you're going to want to be playing with what's available. There's a market of cards in the center here, and one of my favorite mechanisms from this game is the snap mechanism. There are lots of ways to play cards directly from the center of the table and straight into your area, but the snap mechanism is a feature where you can take any card from that center area and put it into your hand. It's a form of reservation system that you can choose to interact with, or you can completely ignore it and instead play on the fly with any of the cards that are out in the middle there. I think Ark Nova does its job excellently. That action system is going to keep you coming back and trying out all of the different varied boards and seeing what animals you can make work with them is a lot of fun. The solo mode works great for this as well, and I think it works excellently at all of the player counts. So that is going to be Ark Nova, my number 5. My number 4 goes to Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition, another engine building game. This is the card game version of Terraforming Mars, where you are a corporation trying to terraform Mars, go figure. Now, I'm not going to speak too much about the multiplayer version of this one. I think it's fine. It works very well. My favorite way to play this game is the cooperative as well as the solo mode. You now have an objective. Instead of just trying to get the most points, your goal is to terraform Mars in a limited amount of time. You're playing out these project cards, blue cards that are going to give you special abilities that you can continuously activate, green cards that will generally give you different resource productions, and red event cards that give you one-time powerful effects. You'll use action cards in order to change the phases in order to activate all of your different cards. If they're blue, you need to play the blue one, you need to play the green one to play green cards, and if you choose the specific action card, you're also going to get an additional bonus for yourself. When you're playing the solo mode, you have a deck of cards that you'll shuffle up that acts as a dummy player, and every round you're trying to anticipate what that dummy player is going to do. They'll flip over their top card, you'll get that benefit as well, and you're trying to time your card play correctly so that you're able to double up on your actions. You get to see each card that they play, it goes out of their deck, so you can narrow down what their options are for future turns and try to maximize that efficiency. Love that sensation. And when you're playing the cooperative mode, you are going to talk directly to the other player and figure out what your path is going to be. Who is going to be playing what card? What are you going to do? And there's even options where you can swap the cards in your hand in order to bolster up each other's special powers. Some corporations work better with other cards. Maybe you're drawing into a lot of a specific type of card and you can shift in order to play towards that strategy. It's up to you as the players to cooperate and communicate effectively. Love the sensation this gives, but that still has that satisfying engine building of the original Terraforming Mars. Love this game. That is my number 4, Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition. My number 3 goes to one of my favorite solo games, period, and my favorite solo roll and write game. This is Hadrian's Wall. This one here has you playing as a Roman general. You are trying to man the Hadrian's Wall. And you're going to do that in order to not only protect yourself from the barbarians, the Picts, but also to provide entertainment for your different civilians that are in your areas here, the citizens. You have all these citizen tracks that give you different ways of scoring, and then on the left side here, the wall itself, which will give you lots of ways to protect yourself from the incoming invaders. At the top of your board here, you'll see an escalation of the invaders as the game continues, and you'll try to build up your defenses and predict where those different enemies are going to be coming. One of my favorite parts about this game has to do with the cards here, the goal cards. These are going to give you different paths that you can go down, and they are going to give you different points for doing different strategies. So each time you play, at the start of each round, you're going to draw 2 cards. You'll pick one that you're going to commit to, and then discard the other one for resources on the bottom here. I love this choice because each experience is going to be different, and it's up to you how you want to pursue your specific game. But the thing that pushed this up to a 10 rating for me, as you can see, we've gotten to the 10 rating games, is the fact that they have also included a solo campaign. This is perfect. This is going to give you small rules, small goals, and an additional challenge for each of your gameplay experiences, all linked through an interconnecting campaign. It also has a brief history of each of the different forts that you'll be playing on. I actually got to visit Hadrian's Wall back in Thanksgiving, and there are very much these different forts here. So you get to go from each of the different forts across the Hadrian's Wall. This is the one that I went to. I went to number 13 here. Pretty dang awesome. So you get to see which of those different forts were and why they rules tie to those specific forts. Love the small bits of history for this, but the small gameplay changes that also lead to big impacts in the entire experience. For example, one of my favorite ones that I just did, let's see if I can find it here. Ooh, where is it? Let's see if I can find it. Well, okay, here or there. The fort rules here. Yes, this one here, Fort 11. This one had it so that every time that you worked on a specific type of production, resource production, it made it so that it was twice as much to invest in. So you could either do heavy investment to get that resource production, you could completely ignore it in order to be efficient in other ways. These small rules are going to push you to using the systems in Hadrian's Wall in ways that you maybe never have thought to do in the first place. There were a lot of times when I played the game originally that I ignored some of these citizen tracks completely. I didn't think that they were efficient, or maybe I didn't think they were very interesting, or maybe I was comfortable with the other ones, but that solo expansion is going to push you to use the different citizen tracks, use all of the facets of the game that are available, and have a complete exploration of the system. I love Hadrian's Wall, and I think it's the best roll and write game out there, and it's still one that I pull out consistently, have a great time with it every time. I'm going through the solo campaign again. I think this is my 3rd time through it. I enjoy it that much. So that is my number 3, Hadrian's Wall. My number 2 goes to the best exploration game. This is Sleeping Gods. This year was incredible for solo gaming, I think, and Sleeping Gods is one of the best story games, adventure games, period. It's my favorite exploration adventure game. This has you playing as the crew of the Manticore. You'll have these crew boards in front of you and a single steamship that's going to be venturing around the map. Each area that you go to has a story point that you can interact with, and you'll learn something to do with the area in your search for totems. Your goal is to find as many of these mystical totems as possible, which come in the form of these item cards. You'll use these items in order to interact with the different tests, gain bonuses, and make it to the end of your journey. You have a finite amount of time. Let me count. 18 times 3, so 36, 40, 54 turns. You have 54 turns in order to complete this game and try to find as many totems as possible. So everything you do, you have to be efficient at. Everything has consequences. As you play through each of the rounds, you're going to start with easy events, then go to medium, and then difficult events, and then you'll hit a hard reset with an additional challenge until you finally get to that final climax. I love this experience because as you play the game, you're rushing towards, not rushing, but you're making progress towards that point, and as soon as you hit that reset point, you're going to all of a sudden have the ability to start fresh with new crew members, new abilities, and new cards. I've talked a lot about this game on this channel, and Sleeping Gods remains to be one of my favorites. It's the campaign game that whenever I'm thinking of starting a campaign game, it's this one. This is the one that I want to play out of all of them. It's the game that every time a new campaign comes in, I'm like, I could be playing Sleeping Gods. It's that incredible. I can't wait for Distant Skies to come. But one thing that I want to talk about that I don't think I've highlighted on the other reviews or anything like that are the ability cards in this game. I want to do a bit more of a deep dive here. This is one of the ways that you are able to upgrade your characters. You can pay the command cost in the upper right here and attach them to your characters to get additional symbols on tests. However, this deck of ability cards is also your fate deck, which is how you're going to resolve tests. You'll draw a card from the top of the deck, add that value, the one here, to whatever you're doing, and that will add to your additional successes. But then you also have different abilities on the bottom of the cards here. For example, Triage here, each time you remove a fatigue from this crew member, you restore a health to another crew member. That is so powerful. That's going to give you a lot of efficiency, and it means you're going to want to try to use that character quite a bit. But as you can see, these cards are tied to those specific fate symbols. And if these cards are attached to your characters, that means that they're not in the deck of cards that you're going to be using to taking tests. So every time you upgrade a character, you have to think about the long-term implications. I'm having to pay my action points to put these onto characters. I'm losing this card from the deck, which means I'm not going to get it when I'm resolving my tests, but I'm also going to get this special ability. So are those trade-offs worth it? And I love this choice. There are so many different cards with different abilities, and every time you see one, you have that choice of whether you want to attach it, whether you want to discard it, because you can also do them one-time effects, discard them from your hand for additional bonuses when you're resolving tests. Love it. There's multi-use in such a simple way with great choices in every instance that you can actually use them. Sleeping Gods is the best adventure game. You're going to be trickling out your items. You're going to have all of these crews that look daunting at first, but make this tapestry of story and exciting choices. I love Sleeping Gods. That is my number 2. But my number 1 is one of my favorite games, period. This was a great year. 2021 was incredible. My number 1 goes to Bullet Heart. Bullet Star has now come out. Bullet Orange has come out as well, just introducing new characters, with Bullet Star giving you an entire standalone set of characters, making it so you can play epic 8-player multiplayer mode. Bullet Heart is a puzzle game of real-time action. This is based off of the Bullet Hell video game style, where you're going to be pulling these bullets from a bag, placing them into your center, which is this face-up area in front of you, and hoping that they do not hit you. However, it's not just hoping. You have ways to mitigate and move these different pieces on your board. You have action points on the right side here that you'll spend to move them around, and then you also have these pattern cards that have specific conditions on the bottom here that you'll spend in order to clear or get rid of the bullets in your sight. You'll move them to the side, send them to the opponent, and just like something like Tetris Battle, your goal is to clear as many bullets as possible, because when you clear these bullets, they're going to go into the enemy's bag and then be placed in their pile to have to fight through on their turn. This is amazing. It's such a terrifying procedure that you're going to keep on going through, but when you're in that moment, every single thing you do is a critical choice. Every time you pull a bead, you have to decide, do I move it? Do I use my pattern? Do I use these action points? It's terrifying because each decision matters that much. You only have so many life points, but you have so many options to mitigate these potential disasters. But do you let the disasters potentially happen so that you get more options with your pattern cards? On top of this, you're going to have a variety of characters that will give you special abilities and powers, their own unique pattern deck, their own unique action system. Every single thing about these characters is different and will vary the experience in positive ways. There are some that are going to be weaker, but that means that they're going to be an additional challenge. There are some that are going going to be super powerful, which means you can ramp up the difficulty, and there are going to be some characters that offer completely unique ways to challenge the game. One of my favorite characters that you saw back there, Ling Ling Zhao, actually cares about the unique numbers on these bullets. Usually that's just the way that they fall down, and the bigger the number, the scarier they are, because they can potentially hit you. But Ling Ling is going to try to potentially reserve those big numbers so that they can use them for unique plays. Love this system. This game plays incredible at the solo and multiplayer counts, all the way from 1 up to 8 with that epic multiplayer mode. And the solo and cooperative modes of this game, you can shift to do not incorporate that real time. So if you are worried about that, you can turn it off. The bosses for the characters that you fight, though, in the solo and co-op modes, though, are on the back of the heroine cards and feature essentially corrupted versions of them. And they're having their own sets of pattern cards that you're going to be fighting against, but they retain the flavor and unique, interesting factors from the original heroines. This game is amazing. I can't wait for more to come out. I'm always playing it, and the way that I'm playing it more frequently now than ever is the multiplayer setting. This is one that I play a lot in groups. I play this with my dad a lot. I love this game. If I could play this every day, I would. Bullet Heart's amazing. Excellent multiplayer game that takes 20 minutes to play, so you're going to have time to play it. I love this one. So Bullet Heart, amazing game. My number 1 game from 2021. And that's it. That's the list. Those are my favorite games from 2021 a year later. A lot of these were on my favorites from 2021, but some of them are new to the list. I'm curious if you were able to figure out which ones those were. But I'm curious about your favorite games from 2021. What has stood that test of time for you? What games surprised you on this list? What games are you like, we knew that was going to be there? I'm sure there are plenty on here because I do talk about them a lot. I'm so excited to hear it. So this is going to hopefully roll into my best of 2022 series, trying to get a couple more games played. I have 5 more, maybe 6 more actually, that I'm trying to get played before I start rolling those lists out. But I was just excited to talk about some amazing games. So those are my favorite from 2021. Thank you so much for watching. SideGame Strong